The following is a presentation of IMG, America's home for college sports. Live from Brother Jimmy's on Easton Avenue in New Brunswick, this is the Kyle Flood Show. Your chance to talk Rutgers football with the head coach of the Scarlet Knights.
Rutgers with 9 on the line. They're coming and blocked. They got it. He's going to go. Sideline 20, 10. Adios, compadres.
To be a part of the show, call toll-free 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-FLOOD-44. Now we go inside Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick. Alongside Coach Kyle Flood, here's Chris Carlin.
Welcome, everybody, to Week 2 of the Kyle Flood Show here at Brother Jimmy's live in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I'm Chris Carlin. Eric LeGrand had a scheduling conflict tonight, by the way. Happy birthday, Mr. LeGrand. Turned 23 today, if I'm not mistaken. Coach, great to be with you.
Well, I tell you, I knew it was a bad sign for Eric's attendance when I saw his Instagram with Gabriel the jeweler. And it appeared he got a pretty nice birthday gift today. Happy birthday, Eric. I know wherever you are, you're probably not thinking about Chris and I, but we hope you have a great night.
Absolutely. No doubt we will see Eric this weekend, of course, when the Scarlet Knights have their home opener at High Point Solution Stadium. Saturday, 12 noon, they will host the Norfolk State Spartans. And one piece of business, the student tickets all sold out for this Saturday already. We're expecting a crowd in the neighborhood of about 50,000 for the Scarlet Knights and Norfolk State this coming Saturday. And, Coach, let's take a spin back a week. Your opener out west at Fresno State, and I don't know that anybody could have predicted that you would get this kind of game, a wild one to be sure. 52-51 the final as Fresno State edges you out in overtime. First of all, have you ever been a part of a wild game like that? Was that up there as far as that's concerned?
It was right up there. I've been a part over 20 years. I've been a part of a couple games like that, but not many. And that one was a wild one, and it had as many twists and turns and lead changes and big plays and momentum swings really as any game I've ever been a part of. I'm really proud of the way our team fought. We're certainly disappointed that we came up a play short, but all the credit really goes to Coach DeRuyter and his team. Fresno State's got a fine football team. I think that'll play out as the year goes on.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of articles this week about Fresno State and them being this year's Boise State. But that aside, Coach, let's work a little bit backwards. First of all, you know what everybody wants to know. The decision in the first overtime to go for 2, take us inside what you're thinking about at that point and also the play call at that point.
You know, as we started the overtime and Fresno State scored on the first play, when we got the ball back, I said to Coach Prince, I said, when we score a touchdown, we're going to go for 2. And I felt like our offense was playing really well. And it was really much more about my confidence in our players on offense than anything else. And sure enough, we got down there in about 3 plays, and we got it in the end zone. And I knew Ron already had the play called. It was something that we had practiced during the week, and it was a little bit of a sprint out flat route by Brandon Coleman, and it put the ball really in 2 of our better players, Gary and Brandon. So I was confident in the call. Unfortunately, we didn't execute it as well as we would have liked to, but in terms of the decision and the play call, I feel very good about both.
You know, with the decision, as you're thinking about that, you're talking about your confidence in your offense. It's game 1 of the year. Does that just send a nice early message to this group? We're not going to be afraid of anything this season.
I hope they feel that way, and I felt that way last year. But as you go through a game, your team builds confidence in you. And when I watched the way our offense would continually go out there and execute in that game on the road, hostile environment, there was some tremendous plays from Karan Pratt to Leonte Crew to Brandon Coleman to Ruhan Peel catching a bender in the first overtime that got us down to about the 4-yard line. Just some great plays and some excellent runs by P.J. James as well. So I was just really confident that when we got an opportunity to win that game that we were going to do it.
We want you to be a part of the show tonight. You can do so in a couple of different ways. If you're here in attendance at Brother Jimmy's, you can come right up to see our friend, Jimmy, right up front. No relation, by the way. But he has the microphone. He can certainly take your questions. We want to get you involved. Also on the phones at 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-FLOOD-44. It is a toll-free call. And you can tweet us at @RFootball. So get your questions in. Let's go inside some of the performances that you had. First of all, Gary Nova, 26 out of 41, 348 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. What impressed you the most about Gary when you went back and looked at the tape?
I think Gary did an excellent job of managing the game and really having full command of everybody on the offense throughout the game. And no matter what had happened, whether they had scored on the first drive or we tied it or they went up or we were up, his demeanor never wavered during that football game. And when we went out there for the overtime, the last drive of the game, he was ready to go, and he was raring to go. So that was, to me, the best thing that happened during the game. Certainly he threw the ball well. He threw it accurately. Even the one interception they had was a tip ball and a great play by one of their defenders on the sideline. So I thought he was a good decision maker. I thought he kept us in good place for the most part during the game, and I really think he was exactly what I thought he would be at the end of last year. I really felt like by the time we lined up to play that first game the following year, he was going to be a better player in every way, and he was.
To the layman watching that game and describing it as we were, Coach, watching Gary, not only with some pocket presence, sliding around, seemed very comfortable there, but also it seems like he's got a little more escapability to him this year because he slipped out of some tricky situations to make some plays.
Gary's always been a good athlete. He was an excellent basketball player in high school, and I think now, as I've said before, Gary's in the best shape of his life, and Gary was in good shape last year, but now he's in the best shape of his life a year later, and I think people see that. You see that on the field. He even had a rushing touchdown.
He did, and on the 2-point conversion,
Correct.
on the quarterback draw, there's a great call at that point, and you look at his two receivers. Everybody's been raving about Leonte Carew, and we got a very nice dose of what he can offer this offense.
I think that receiver position is a talented one for us,
Sure.
and whether it's Leonte or Brandon or Karan Pratt, Ruhan Peel, and even some of these younger guys that are starting to come along. Carlton Agadosi's getting healthy this week. Andre Patton, Janarian Grant. It is a position that is very, very talented, and I think we got to utilize it. I think we saw the beginning stages of that in week 1.
You said last week you were not going to be worried about any rust with Brandon Coleman, and I think it's pretty safe to say there wasn't much rust.
No, 10 catches, over 100 yards. I think he had 1 touchdown. Is that correct? 2 touchdowns in the game. So, Brandon will be ready to go. Brandon was battle-tested, game-ready, and I wasn't concerned about the preseason. We just want to make sure when we got to the first game that he felt as good as he could feel.
You mentioned Janarian Grant. First time he touches the ball as a college football player. He doesn't get touched going the other way. Extremely good blocking. Take me inside his night because that was the good, and he struggled a little bit in muffing the punts as well. I saw some of your comments about him having to run up, catch the ball. It's a tricky spot for a punt returner.
It is. It absolutely is, and we knew Janarian would be a dynamic player anytime the ball was in his hands, just by virtue of what he did in high school. And he scored touchdowns in high school in every possible way, on offense and on defense and on special teams. So, although I don't know that I would have predicted a touchdown on the first kickoff return of the game, I wasn't completely surprised either. I thought it was a very well executed return by the people blocking for him, and he's got excellent speed. So when he got the crease, he was able to run away from everybody else.
855-FLOOD-44, our telephone number. You can talk to the coach as the Scarlet Knights get set to host Norfolk State this coming Saturday at High Point Solution Stadium. We have our first question of the night on Twitter. It comes from Chris Waskey on Twitter. Coach, how are you going to prepare the team for more up-tempo offenses like Houston, SMU, maybe Cincinnati, who all look to spread out as well? You talk about up-tempo. I think you got more than your dose the other night when they ran 97 offensive plays.
They sure did, and it was a unique game in this respect. I don't know that I can remember a team throwing the ball as many times they did. I believe they threw it over 70 times in the game, and none of the completions going more than 27 yards. That is a very strange statistic to come out of a football game, and they were determined to get the ball out of their hand fast, and they did, and the route combinations and the quick screens that they used were to create that and make that happen. And no doubt when we play a team that wants to do that style of spread offense, we got to tackle a little bit better. And if we tackle a little bit better, I think we might have a different outcome in that game. But every offense, even though they may all be classified as spread, is a little bit unique. Mm-hmm. Fresno did it with the passing game. Others are going to try to spread you out and run the ball a little bit more. And as we come up on them, these spread offenses are not the exception anymore. They're almost the norm. So I think we'll be ready.
When you went back and looked defensively, was the tackling your biggest concern coming out of the game?
I wouldn't use the word concern. I don't use that. I just think we need to do it better, and I think we will. I think we have the players to do it better, and there's no excuse for not doing it better. So I'm not making excuses for any first-year players or any of that stuff. That's not important to me, because if we can make one more play in that game, we come out on top. But as we go forward, we do need to tackle better, and we need to tackle better within our tackling system. And we don't need to change the way we coach anything. We just got to take everybody on defense and just do it a little bit better, and that's what we've been working at all week.
I want to take you to one spot in the first half, and I want to be clear. I'm not asking you to criticize anything in terms of officiating. I'm looking for a clarification. 20-7, Carr fumbles the snap, has his right knee go down, his right hand out. It looked like on the football for maybe a quarter of a second. What was the explanation there? Because when I went back, I went to the rule book, looked up the definition of possession. To me, it didn't look like possession was really established for Carr, even though he was down.
It is actually something that is still pending within our conference, and I've talked to Terry McCauley, who's the head of officials for the American Athletic Conference, and he does a great job. He's an NFL official on Sundays, and he's as good as there is in the business. And he started the process of explaining it to me a little earlier in the week, and I think the possession was determined by virtue of him being able to pick the ball up off the ground with one hand. And that's what I have been told so far. But even Terry said that they're still reviewing it to get a final interpretation of whether or not they feel that the call was correct. So there's a lot of with a game that's played as fast as football is. There's always going to be some gray area calls, and some may go your way and some may not. So that wasn't the play that was the determining factor in the game. Certainly, a turnover is a big factor in the game, but we're not pointing to that as any kind of excuse for sure.
A couple of guys that certainly jumped out on the defensive side. What a great story David Maluski is, and he seemed very active. I noticed you lined him up in a lot of different places on the defensive line the other night. Here's a kid that's had 3 knee surgeries the last few years and has always been right on the doorstep of playing. First of all, could you just kind of see how much he was appreciating the moment of being back out there?
He was pure excitement to be out there, and in all the days that led up to that game, you could almost see it in his eyes and in his mannerisms, and I was so excited for David to be back out there to play football. I think I asked him at one point, I said, did he know exactly how many days it was? And he said no, but I got a feeling he might have the number written down somewhere. And what just makes it better is he played really well. Yeah. And he played at a very high level, and he played with a great motor, which doesn't surprise me at all for David. And David's going to play a lot of football for us this year, and he's really going to help us on defense, and he's going to help mold some of those younger defensive players we have as well.
Yeah, he had a fumble recovery in the game and seemingly in the backfield quite a bit.
Tip pass.
Yeah, tip pass. Yeah. And it even, lined up right in the middle of the defensive line, if I'm not mistaken,
absolutely.
On several plays.
Very, very smart football player. He really can play any of the defensive line positions for us, any of the 4. He can play them all, and then he can play in the sub-packages as well. So he gives us a lot of flexibility and versatility.
How did you come out of the game health-wise?
I think we came out about as well as anybody. We got a couple guys that are dinged up, and hopefully will be back by this Saturday, and some other guys that maybe didn't play as much because of that maybe will be back Saturday as well. Every team in the country right now is dealing with that, and we'll deal with it throughout the entire season. That's why the depth of your football team is so critical, and how quickly you can advance those younger players in your program, whether they're true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, the people that have not played significantly in the past. It becomes critical to everything you do as the season goes on.
And again, you look at a game like that, and you have that in week 1 of your season. What did you learn about your football team the other night, if anything?
I thought it was a great way to start our season. And one of the things I look forward to the most about a game like that is knowing that your team is going to be tested. And there are certain players in your program that you've seen do it over and over again, and you're never surprised by the way they respond to that kind of adversity. But with the younger players in the program, it's great to see them go out and watch them compete. I think we had 10 first and second year players who played significantly for the first time in their careers, and all went out there and played well and made mistakes, but that's part of the process too. And again, nobody's happy that we didn't come out on top, but I think what we learned about our team is that we've got a team that can compete with anybody in the country.
You know, you mentioned Paul James, and I've been remiss in not emphasizing the 182 yards, a 65-yard run, a 55-yard run, and it brings us to our next question on Twitter. And this is from Lou on Twitter. Coach, did you give any thought to running James on the two-point conversion?
Well, really, you give thought to every play in the playbook during the week, and then you have your call sheet, and certainly you're ready to adjust as the game goes on. But there was nothing in the game that made us think having the ball in Gary and Brandon's hands was not a good play. So, those plays are all on the call sheet for a reason, but we made the decision during the week of what our two-point plays would be, and we go with it at that point. That's the plan. At
first, Paul seemed to be getting a lot of his yardage on the outside, and then he was fighting pretty hard on the inside and picking up some yards. What made him as effective as he was? First of all, get in the corner as he did the other night. Is that just quickness?
Well, I think Paul's a talented running back. I think we had to just give you an evaluation of the run game, and I'll speak specifically about Paul also. We weren't consistent enough in the run game, and I know the numbers are nice and the yards per carry are nice, but we need to be a lot more consistent as we go through. I would hope we would not have that many negative runs going forward, and they were kind of offset by some of the big plays. So the big plays are really exciting, and the big plays are a combination of some really good blocking in front of him, his ability not to get tackled by the first guy. I think that's critical. There were some arms that he ran through, and he made some full-speed decisions. And anybody's ever heard me talk about running backs, I always say this. The running backs that excel in college football and then ultimately in the NFL are the ones that change speed as they go through the line of scrimmage. Their eyes tell them when to burst, and then there's a burst. And that burst is what allows you to run through some of those arms in the line of scrimmage and then get the opportunity for the bigger plays.
We want you to be involved. We're going to take your Twitter questions as we have a couple already. @RFootball. That's @RFootball on Twitter. Your questions in person here at Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick. You can come right up to our microphone and ask the coach a question as Rutgers gets set for the home opener this Saturday against Norfolk State. 12 noon kick at High Point Solution Stadium. And give us a call. 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-FLOOD-44. We'll take our first time out. We've got a lot to do over the next 45 minutes, so stay with us. This is the Kyle Flood Show.
You may already know that AT&T is the nation's fastest 4G LTE network. And now independent research has confirmed that AT&T 4G LTE is also the most reliable. Whether you're connecting with family or getting the job done, you want a wireless network you can count on. AT&T, the nation's fastest and now most reliable 4G LTE network. Rethink possible. AT&T reminds you to never text and drive. It can wait.
Speed claim compares national carriers' average 4G LTE download speeds. Reliability claim compares data transfer completion rates on nationwide 4G LTE networks. 4G LTE not available everywhere.
The Scarlet Knights are starting another season, and Acme Nissan wants to wish them luck. Plus, we have something for the fans. That's right, all Rutgers fans and alums come to Acme Nissan. We've got great deals just for you. Plus, take advantage of our 3 for Free program. 3 years of complimentary basic maintenance with every new or used lease or purchase. We'll worry about your car. You enjoy the game. Go Knights. Go to Acme Nissan, Route 130 in South Brunswick, or online at acmenissan.com.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
When it comes to football, you want your favorite players to stay healthy and on top of their game. Well, AmeriHealth New Jersey wants the same thing for its members. That's why AmeriHealth New Jersey has you covered with the answers you need to understand how the new healthcare law is changing the way you buy health insurance. AmeriHealth believes the more you know about your options, the less stress you'll feel. No one cares more about keeping New Jersey healthy, and no one is doing more to keep rates affordable. To learn more about health insurance that pays, visit AmeriHealthNJ.com. AmeriHealth New Jersey is a proud sponsor of Rutgers football.
For over 28 years, STS Tire and Auto Centers has been a proud sponsor of Rutgers Athletics. Let the employee owners of STS help you take care of your vehicle. The certified professionals at STS fix it right the first time and provide peace of mind with every tire or service purchase. So when your vehicle needs service or a set of the right tires at the right price, turn to one of the nearly 150 neighborhood STS locations near you. STS, it's a trust thing. STStire.com. STStire.com.
We are back at Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick. It is the second edition of the Kyle Flood Show. Chris Carlin alongside the head coach, Kyle Flood. Eric LeGrand is not with us tonight because of a scheduling conflict, but as we said, it is his birthday, and we wish him a happy 23rd birthday. He will be with us this weekend, of course, for the broadcast. And third man in the booth this year on the home games. Looking forward to that with Eric and Ray, because we had it a couple of times last year through, a quarter or two, and Eric really provides a unique perspective on the football game. Should be good to get to hear what he has to say.
I think he's done a great job over the last couple of years of really honing in on his profession and what he wants to do. And I can tell you the group that's really excited about Eric being in the booth is the defensive line, because the defensive line never got as much love as when he started going on air and talking about all those guys.
Exactly. And you know what? You got Ray, the quarterback, so you
right.
know who he's going to be crediting, and the defense is not always going to be necessarily getting the love that they deserve. Again, your phone number is 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-FLOOD-44. We've got another Twitter question. Two things here. This coming from DDP on Twitter. Coach, two things. Will Coach Schiano visit Saturday, considering he's in town? Buccaneers opening up their season against the Jets on Sunday. And will there be a tribute to James Gandolfini before the game? Hashtag Chop Norfolk. And Gandolfini, they are planning a moment of silence, if I'm not mistaken.
We are. We're going to have a moment of silence in honor of James Gandolfini, and certainly one of the great alums of Rutgers University, and somebody who I know Greg had a very close relationship with. I did not. I never had a chance to meet James. But I do know from speaking with my wife that he would come to the games, and a lot of times he would just come with his kids and sit in the stands like everybody else, and he just wanted to be a part of it as a fan. And I always appreciated that about him, even though I never had a chance to meet him. I don't think we'll see Greg at the game. He's going to be a little bit busy, I think, getting ready for his opener in the NFL. And, I got a feeling that they probably don't even come in until the late afternoon on Saturday for that Sunday game. And did you say that was DDP? Is that Diamond Dallas Page of wrestling fame?
I don't think it's
that's
that
tweeting
DDP.
Us questions?
I think it's just somebody using the handle. I don't think it's Diamond Dallas Page. That would be pretty awesome.
My son would be pumped up about that.
I'd be pumped up about that.
I know Johnny from Bound Brook would be pumped up about it.
You mentioned some of the things that go into the home opener this week. I got one more on last week before we get to it. You had a lot of younger players, as you talked about, being involved and really traveling with the team for the first time. And that's quite an experience, especially when you're going out 2 days in advance for a game on the West Coast, not something you do terribly often. How did this group handle the experience?
You're right about what you said. And going out 2 days ahead of time, I found myself on a lot of occasions having to explain to the younger players who hadn't done it before, okay, this is what we're doing now, but this is not the norm for a road trip. Usually you get in the day before the game, which we'll do the rest of the year until you get to the bowl game where you go in a week before. And I thought they handled it very well. And I think that's more a tribute to the upperclassmen and the leadership on our team than anything else. The older players who took it upon themselves to show the younger guys the way and keep them focused in the right direction. And I think it played out in the game. I thought we were very focused from the very beginning. I don't think any of the success that Derek Carr had and the offense from Fresno early in the game had anything to do with lack of focus. I think they have good football players, and they just executed a little bit better than we did early on. But I was really pleased. For the first time, going all the way across the country, an extra day, I thought the younger guys really did a good job.
Let's get to this week and an opportunity to play at High Point Solution Stadium for the first time in 2013. Rutgers on Saturday for the opener, hosting Norfolk State at 12 noon. And a couple of things jump out. On Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, over the weekend, you had a chance to address the incoming freshman class at the stadium. What did you tell them?
Well, I got to start by saying this. They urged me to not use the word freshman. And I guess freshman is not the way they like to be referred to anymore.
Is it first year?
They are the first-year students in the class of 2017.
Okay.
So, and they were great. They were great. I think there was about 7,000 of them in the stands.
Wow.
And they had a lot of things going on, and they were teaching them some of the things we do in the stadium, the RU chant, the third down, all those things. And they had the spirit groups out there, and the band was out there, and the Glee Club was out there. And I apologize to the Glee Club because I didn't get a chance to acknowledge you while I was on the stage. So that was my fault. But I'll tell you this, these first-year students, they're fired up. And I think they're a big reason why that student section is already filled up for this home opener, and I got a feeling it'll be that way the whole season.
It is sold out for this week. The student section, we still have tickets available at 866-445-GO-RU and on ScarletKnights.com. But we are expecting a crowd in the neighborhood of about 50,000. So what did you tell the first-year students?
Well, I told them that they are the 12th man. They are the home field advantage. It's not about the stands and the scoreboard and all the other things that go along with a great stadium like High Point Solution Stadium. The fans, the people in the crowd, they are what make the experience. And I said something to them that I really believe in, and I'll say it here on the air. I said they as a first-year group, they're going to see more wins in this stadium than any group has ever seen. And I believe that, and I think with the group we have right now and some of the recruits that are on the way, the future is bright for Rutgers football, and it's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people.
That's what I was getting at. Old Birdie told me that you might have said that, and very exciting, no doubt. We've got our first question in person tonight, sir. What's your name, and where are you from here at Brother Jimmy's?
John from Brick, New Jersey, and Chris, I just want to say I'm a huge Met fan, so I've been seeing you on SNY for years.
I appreciate that,
and
John.
I got a question for the coach. With the 2 season-ending injuries, Merrill's still out, suspension, how does the D-line and D-end depth affect the pass rush, which is Rutgers' defense, one of its identities? How does that affect it going into the future? Norfolk State, Eastern Michigan, Arkansas?
Well, I think the first thing is we've got significant depth at that position, and we have to have players step up. And some of those players are the ones that are already out there, guys like Marcus Thompson, guys like Darius Hamilton, Isaac Holmes, and then the other players that surround them, guys like David Maluski and Dewani Mera, who have really done a nice job. And now some other players like Darryl Stevenson, a guy who got a little bit of an opportunity last week, is going to get a significantly more of an opportunity this week. And guys like Al Page and Sebastian Joseph, who are kind of waiting in the wings. Quanzell Lambert, who's playing behind Marcus Thompson right now. Quentin Gauze, who's playing on our sub-packages on third down. So we have a lot of talented football players at that position that are going to get an opportunity. And like anything else, the ones that can get to the quarterback get to stay.
Good enough. And, Coach, the defensive line is an area that you always are going to need so much depth, and those younger guys who are going to get opportunities now, and even who started to get opportunities, you got to feel, even though you've had a little bit of a bump in that regard, still got to feel pretty good about what you saw this past week.
I do, and we know what we need to correct, but we also know where we think we did a good job, and we did a good job stopping the run. I thought at times when given the opportunity, we did a good job rushing the passer. I know we only had 1 sack. I think Marcus Thompson got the sack for us. But I'm confident that if people are going to sit back there and hold the ball, we'll have a chance to get to the quarterback. And when they don't, that we'll do a better job tackling going forward.
I want to mention Darius Hamilton for a moment. He had the penalty, and I thought there was an awful lot of maturity on his part, owning up to what happened the other day and what he had to say earlier this week in the press about it. What if anything, did you and Darius talk about in regard to that you can share?
It was unfortunate. It was an emotional reaction in the moment that I know he regrets, and it's unfortunate because Darius is such a great kid, and he's so much fun to coach every day. He plays the game the right way. He lives the right way. He's one of the faces of our program as we go forward. And I love coaching him, and I love having him on the team. And it didn't surprise me that he took responsibility for what he did, and I don't think we're going to have that issue ever again going forward.
Coach, let's take our first phone call of the night. Rich joins us on the Kyle Flood Show on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. Rich, how are you?
Coach, pleasure to speak with you.
How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing fine. I have one question for you. I have no problem with the 2-point conversion play. The call to go for 2, that was a very gutsy call, and I love how it was a do or die for our team. Too bad it didn't work out, but I would like your opinion on why you did not call a timeout before running the 2-point conversion play. It looked a little harried, and maybe we could have executed a little bit better on that. Your thoughts?
I think those kind of conversations are a little bit like the end of a basketball game in the last possession. Do you want to call timeout and set it up, or do you want to keep the defense on their heels? And we had been doing some no-huddle stuff in the overtime, and the 2 consecutive passes that got us into the end zone were no-huddle plays, and I just felt like getting on the ball again. We already knew what the play was, so there was no decision process to be made. The play was already called on Thursday, so we knew what the play was going to be, and we went with it. And unfortunately, we just didn't execute it well enough. So we can look back and say those things, but philosophically for us, we felt like the right thing to do was to try to keep them on their heels and unfortunately it didn't work out.
That was Rich from Section 118. I want to make sure we clarify where Rich was calling from. Again, our telephone number is 855-FLOOD-44. You can get involved on Twitter as well, @OurFootball. That's where we're going next. Rich on Twitter. Coach, any concerns about the defense in relation to the injured players? You addressed it a little bit, and also the suspension of Kenneth Kirksey for the game this week for a violation of team rules. But, moving forward in terms of getting guys opportunities to play, that's what this is going to be all about, right?
It really is, and I think whoever's on the field is the starter, and we've got quite a few players on defense that are playing right now. And we already talked about the defensive linemen, and even at linebacker, guys like L.J. Liston are going to have a chance here going forward to get some playing time. And I'm not concerned about it because injuries are things that you can't control. And I don't worry about things we can't control. I put all my focus on the players who are playing on the field.
We'll take a timeout, and we're going to take more calls. We're going to get into Norfolk State this week. A lot more to discuss as we are here until 8:30. It is the Kyle Flood Show right here on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. Get involved. Tweet us @OurFootball. Give us a call. 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-FLOOD-44. Stay with us. This is the Kyle Flood Show.
Excuse me, is that your Diet Pepsi?
Sofia Vergara. Yeah, this is my Diet Pepsi. I love Diet Pepsi.
Do you love every sip?
Nothing is better than drinking a refreshing Diet Pepsi and just reveling in its crisp, delicious taste.
Well, you know what they say. If you love something, let it go. And if it comes back, it was meant to be.
So I should set this Diet Pepsi free and wait for it to come back. Then it'll be more delicious than ever. Would you hold my Diet Pepsi for me?
I'd love to.
Thank you. What happens now?
Go, get out of here. It can't come back to you if you're standing next to it.
Thanks, Sophia. I'll wait for you, Diet Pepsi.
The only thing better than an ice-cold Diet Pepsi is a free ice-cold Diet Pepsi.
Love every sip at DietPepsi.com.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
We made the Audi A6 more intelligent than ever before. We made it smarter by giving it Audi Connect, a suite of technologies that include Google Earth and a Wi-Fi hotspot. We made it smarter still by giving it an MMI with handwriting recognition. We made it more intuitive by adding voice-enabled search. We made it able to outperform almost any road condition with the legendary Audi Quattro all-wheel drive technology. And after all that, we made something else entirely. Yes, the Audi A6 made Car and Driver's 10 Best list. Maybe it's time you visited your Audi dealer to see why.
Car and Driver, January 2012. Some features mentioned are optional. You require additional subscriptions.
And now your New Jersey Audi dealers introduce the all-new Audi A6 TDI Clean Diesel. Joining the lineup of 5 all-new Audi TDI Clean Diesel vehicles available only at your local New Jersey Audi dealer. Audi TDI Clean Diesel, the intelligent choice.
Big weekend for Rutgers, not only at High Point Solution Stadium, but around the NFL. We are back on the Kyle Flood Show here on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us. While we have a chance, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Kyle Flood Show on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. Opening weekend coming in the NFL, and you look up and down rosters now all over the league, and you see former Scarlet Knights and a lot of guys from last year's team that have been picked up and are in some interesting spots. And we know that the Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers certainly have more than their share, but that's not all as we look up and down this list, Coach.
Oh, it's exciting. I mean, it is really exciting. 10 players just from last year's team alone that are with NFL teams right now. I think 7 are active and 3 are on practice squads, but those things are fluid and can change any day. I couldn't be more proud of all these players. And then I look at the list and I see guys that I was fortunate enough to be around in their playing days, guys like Kenny Britt, Anthony Davis, Clark Harris, I remember from my early years here. I may be one of the few who dates back that far. Just me and you, Chris. That's about it. And the McCourtys and Brian Leonard and on and on and on. I think the only one who is not on the list, who is on the list, who I didn't have a chance to work with, is the defensive lineman down at Tampa now.
Gary Gibson.
Gary Gibson. He was the only one who predated me.
Gary just re-signed with the Buccaneers the other day. Just in looking up and down the list, there's one guy that really jumps out that I'm excited that he's getting an opportunity from last year's team, and that's Tim Wright with the Buccaneers. And Tim is not playing wide receiver. He's playing tight end.
And it doesn't surprise me, and I couldn't be happier for him. And he came back during his career at Rutgers from an ACL injury and really got his career going again. And 2 years ago, the 2011 season, we actually did some tight end things with him, and we did some things with him in the backfield and on the line of scrimmage, and he did them well, and he was always a great special teams player for us, somebody that was a captain for us last year, and he does all the little things. He's a super high intangible guy, and nobody would know that better than Greg Schiano, so it doesn't surprise me that that's where he landed.
Plus, and he's also missed as the barber of the team. He did a great
and
job.
I have actually polled the players, and we have yet to replace him.
Really?
So we are in need of a barber at Rutgers. Timmy did a great job, and the players trusted him, and nobody else has been able to win the trust of the players just yet. So I know their hair is important to them, so we got to find somebody in a hurry.
But just as you have all these guys in the NFL, you have 15 of them from last year go in, 7 drafted, 8 signed. Now you've got as many guys as you do sticking. What is it about the program over the years, especially that you've been here, that has prepared players so well for the league?
This may sound a little bit like an oversimplification, but I don't think it is from having the opportunity to speak to some of the coaches and the general managers and the scouts in that league. We play football the right way. We train our players the right way. We have high intangible guys on our football team. We have players that want to play special teams and understand the importance of special teams and what it can do within a game. And I don't know if we're the only school in the country that's doing that, but I know this. The NFL teams keep coming back for a reason, and those are the reasons that they give me, and I'm very proud of it. And because I've always believed in those things as a football coach, and now as a head coach, I probably believe in them even more.
Let's get back to the phones. Chad is up next in Highland Park, New Jersey, on the Kyle Flood Show. Chad, how are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're great.
Great.
Hey, Coach Flood, I just want to compliment you on the offense in that game. You guys were very aggressive, and that's something that the fans really appreciated. Last year, I know a lot of times you're kind of conservative and kind of playing not to lose, but this game you were very aggressive, and it was really good to see from a fan perspective. The one question I wanted to ask you was about the defense. With the advent of the spread offense and all the different colleges that are converting to that spread offense and this fast-paced type of offense, no huddle. I see in the game you guys had some trouble with it. Obviously, a lot of schools have trouble with it. The question I had was with regards to the defensive backs. Since they were completing a lot of these little short passes, little bubble screens, how come they didn't adjust where they went to like a man-to-man bump coverage to disrupt their route to allow the line to get pressure on the quarterback? It seemed like they were just off the line of scrimmage the whole game, and they were just kind of thinking and knuckling the whole game. I just want to know if that's something that was thought about, or if you think that there's something you did. I just didn't see it. I was curious.
The first thing I would say is we don't ever coach the game not to lose. That's never been our philosophy, whether I was an assistant coach or the head coach. We are always playing the game to win, and I think every game takes on a personality of its own. And even within that game, we played cover 2. We played some what we call in football quarters coverage or cover 4. We played man-to-man. We pressured. We blitzed. We do it all on defense, and we probably do as much on defense as anybody, and we do it every week. And unfortunately, we just didn't execute it quite well enough, and that's the reality of that game. But I just like anything else, we're not going to overreact to it either. We know that we've got a system of defense that works. We know we've got a tackling system that works. And if we didn't do it well enough in one game, that doesn't mean we try to find something different. We just got to do what we do a little bit better.
Let's take our next question on Twitter from Up and Adam. Coach, what should we be on the lookout for from Norfolk State besides the awesome band at halftime? Now, that's true. They've had a great band before. Unfortunately, I'm told the band is not making the trip for Norfolk State. But that aside, tell us a little bit about this Norfolk State team that last week lost their opener to Maine in their under head coach Pete Adrian, who's been there for quite a few years.
Yeah, I think Coach Adrian's been there for 9 years now, if I'm not correct. And they've got an excellent football team, and they've got a football team that's really going to challenge us. And it's not too long ago that at the end of the first quarter when we played them, we were only winning 3-0. They play very good defense, and they've played very good defense for a long time. Each of the last 4 years, they've finished in top 10 in the country in FCS football on defense, and last year they had the number 1 passing defense in the country at that level. So we know they're going to come in here. They played a tough game against a really good Maine football team last week. We certainly know how good Maine is. Maine has produced coaches like Rob Smith and Joe Rossi, to name 2 of the excellent coaches who've come from there. And Coach Cosgrove's done a great job. At one point in his career, they went down to Mississippi State and won a game. So that's not an easy game to play for anybody when you go on the road at Maine. But for us, we just got to do what we do better. And we know they're going to be good on defense, but that's got nothing to do with us. We got to execute our game plan better on offense than we did last week. We got to be more consistent in protection, more consistent running the football. On defense, we got to do the fundamentals a little bit better. They challenge you with their offense. They have a lot of offense, a lot of volume, a lot of personnel groups, a lot of different formations. They have some things that look like traditional pro-style offense. Then they have some other things they do that are a little bit more spread offense-oriented. They play 2 quarterbacks, and even though they're not that dissimilar in terms of their skill sets, they do play 2, and somebody told me they were talking about playing 3, so I can't speak to who the third would be, but I know they're going to play 2 for sure, and we have to be ready to line up to a lot of formations every play and execute.
Malik Stokes is their their starting quarterback, I should say. Amari Timmons should get some playing time as well. You know, you look at these teams, I'd still always have trouble calling it FCS. It's 1AA. I get them.
I'm working on it too.
But you look at these teams over the last few years that come in and play at Rutgers, they always have a lot of FBS transfers, and as a result, an awful lot of talent of maybe guys that did not get the opportunity to play at the FBS level, but that doesn't mean that they don't have talent because they were obviously recruited for a reason to an FBS school.
Absolutely, and I worked at that level for 8 years at 2 different programs, and I know exactly what that's like for those players. They have a young man named Lyndon Trail who's 6'7", 260-pound linebacker, transfer from Florida, and a very talented football player in his own right. But I explain it to our team this way. We have a group of 18 to 22-year-olds, and we're going to play against their group of 18 to 22-year-olds. And I think when you think of it like that, you understand that anything can happen. And all you have to do is look to last week.
Yeah.
6 FCS teams go on the road and beat 6 FBS teams. 2 of the teams are teams that we play in our own conference. So we know how tenuous these situations can be. We've played some close games in the past. I know there was a game prior to when I got here that Rutgers didn't win. So anybody is susceptible on any day if you don't come ready to play. And that's what we need to do is focus on ourselves and make sure we're ready to play and execute.
Do you see, just in general in college football, a narrowing of the gap in talent between FBS and FCS over the last several years?
I don't know what the time frame would be. What the coaches in the profession have said to me is that when the scholarship numbers in Division I got reduced to 85, which sounds like a lot, but when you talk to people who had the system prior to that, it was a lot more. And that was the beginning of the leveling of the playing field. Okay. So I don't know if it's completely leveled because obviously the FCS teams play with 63 and we play with 85. But I do think what you see is a little bit more equalization of the talent pool. But again, the most talented team, whether it's an FCS and FBS game or 2 FBS teams or 2 FCS teams, the most talented team doesn't necessarily win. It's the team that executes the best on game day that's going to win. And I don't think that'll be any different than this Saturday.
Well, we want to get you more involved throughout the course. We've got another 15 minutes or so to get your questions in for Coach Flood. 855-FLOOD-44. 855-FLOOD-44. We'll take a timeout right now. Tweet us at @OurFootball as well. This is the Kyle Flood Show.
You may already know that AT&T is the nation's fastest 4G LTE network. And now independent research has confirmed that AT&T 4G LTE is also the most reliable. Whether you're connecting with family or getting the job done, you want a wireless network you can count on. AT&T, the nation's fastest and now most reliable 4G LTE network. Rethink possible. AT&T reminds you to never text and drive. It can wait.
Speed claim compares national carriers' average 4G LTE download speeds. Reliability claim compares data transfer completion rates on nationwide 4G LTE networks. 4G LTE not available everywhere.
Brunswick Square Luxury Cinemas offers state-of-the-art digital technology and sound with affordable ticket prices. Our new luxury reclining seats and great $6.50 all-day student pricing make us the premier place to see your next movie. Located at 755 Route 18 in the Brunswick Square Mall. Buy your tickets now with no online ticketing fees at starplexcinemas.com.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
This commercial is brought to you by Brother International, the makers of fax printers, multifunction printers, scanners, sewing and embroidery machines. Brother is always at your side.
You can make business cards with your name, print from hiking, hang in frames, sew some shades, block the sun, keep out creepy peeping toms. With Brother at your side, always good times. You got a brother at your side, and whatever follows always ends up in good times. You can make a basket cover for your cat, another for his brother, so they both match. No more mess, make the best label all relieve that stress. Brothers always undercover and always around. 106 years, better keep on counting. You got a brother at your side, and whatever follows always ends up in good time. With a brother at your side, with a brother at your side.
Back at Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick, New Jersey. It is week 2 for the Kyle Flood Show. Rutgers getting set to host Norfolk State this coming Saturday. It is the home opener at High Point Solution Stadium, and I know that in and of itself is always a source of excitement for you and for the players as well, getting a chance to play in front of their home fans.
You only get 6 or 7 opportunities a year. This year we've got 7, so we are fired up, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the presence of another celebrity who just walked in. We've had a couple tonight. We met Johnny from Bound Brook before, and then Joseph from Middlesex rolled on in here. So it was it's always good to see him.
Little Joseph checking in on the show. He was a frequent guest last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Very frequent. I think he loves the nachos.
Joseph from Middlesex checking in. And, Coach, as far as, getting the fans involved, and I know that this has been such a critical point for you in getting the students, we talked about the freshmen the other day, getting all areas of the Rutgers fan base as involved as possible, and you trying to make as many personal connections as you can. And, when you see that you're going to have close to 50,000 for Norfolk State this week, is there a little extra something for you in that? Is there just a little extra piece of satisfaction in that, I can get out there, we can connect with these people, and these people can really come and enjoy what we're bringing to them?
I think what it does for me is it makes me feel good that the students and the people in this area are taking advantage of the college football experience. And I'll speak just for the students by themselves, because the students at Rutgers University, they're so fortunate. They're getting a great education. They're surrounded by great people all the time, right here in a great location. But also they have the unique opportunity to be a part of Division I football, major college football. And it was an experience that I did not have as a college student. I went to a much smaller school, and I don't think there's anything like it. So when I look up at that student section and I see it's full, and I see them bouncing around and screaming their heads off and having a great time, whether it's a 12 noon game or it's a night game, as I said before, they are the 12th man. They're the advantage for us. And I know they're having a great time doing it, so I want to give back any way I can.
And how about the energy? We always talk about the importance of the fans being in their seats early. Really, I don't think people really realize that the players draw off that energy.
They draw off it all through pregame. They really do. And it starts in pregame warm-ups when they come out, and then DJ Yoshi is up there in the student section spinning it on the 1 and 2, as the young people say. and then it just, by the time we come out of the tunnel and that stadium is full, it's like an explosion of emotion, and there's nothing like it, and it's one of the greatest feelings in the world.
All right, Coach, take me into a couple of the performances, what you saw from guys who were getting some first opportunities last week. First thing I want to touch on, the guy you brought in from Utah, Nick Marsh, and I think we saw in a couple of different ways how he can be a weapon. He's clearly a very cerebral punter, but also the fact that he had 2 touchbacks as a guy with 25 last year at Utah. He can be a weapon for you in a couple of different ways.
He can. He's got a very strong leg, and he's an excellent kickoff guy. And he's got a powerful leg as a punter, and he did a nice job for us in his first outing. But I think he would tell you he can be better. Yeah. He can be just a little bit more consistent in how he hits the ball, and that's really what we're looking for this week. But Nick's going to have a great year for us, and he is really going to help us in the special teams.
You know, it's just when I said he's a cerebral punter, it just struck me that you saw him do a couple of different things. You saw the ball coming off his foot differently in the limit. I would never notice something like that, but you see that with Nick. You saw him roll out once or twice if he needed to. Looks like he's pretty versatile in that regard.
It really, he's the first punter kickoff guy that I've been around that's been that versatile, and he really is a weapon because the less predictable you are, the harder you are to prepare for. And it's just one more thing that other teams are going to have to prepare for.
We mentioned Janarian Grant earlier, and it was no coincidence that after he took it to the house and the first time he touched the ball, they didn't really give him many opportunities after that, and they were clearly kicking away from Jeremy Deering to begin with. For those guys in the back, when they're going to get those pooch kicks, and Sam Bergen probably didn't figure he was going to be that active in catching the football, but is it a little bit frustrating for those guys when they know they might not get the opportunities because they are so dangerous?
I think it's a little bit like an intentional walk in baseball.
Yeah.
You have to do whatever it is you do for the betterment of the team. And I think they're both, Jeremy and Janarian, are both unselfish players. So I don't think they see it that way. They probably see it as a compliment more than anything. But as we go through the year, we'll have more and more ways to take advantage of those pop kicks as well to make sure we're not just going to catch it and have good field position. We want to advance those balls as well and give our offense the best starting point we can.
One of the 2 other guys, Chris Muller, came in second half at right guard. He's going to start this week. Give us a sense of what you saw.
I was very pleased. And Chris is a guy, as I said earlier in the year, is going to play a lot of football for us this year. And he got thrust in there because of an injury to Andre Civil's elbow. And now, he's going to be our starter. And when he's in the game, he is the starter. And I thought he did a good job for his first game. Fresno State throws a lot of things at you on defense, kind of like we do. They're very similar structurally to what we do. So it was an excellent test for him, and I think he passed it. And now going forward as a young player, we need him to get better and better every week.
Ian Thomas at corner.
Ian Thomas played a good game. It did not surprise me that he intercepted a pass. He had more interceptions in the spring and in the preseason than any other player on our team. So when he got one, it didn't surprise me. And the fact that he got it in the end zone just made it that much sweeter. So it took away a scoring opportunity from them. Again, somebody who's new to his position, having been recruited as a wide receiver and played mostly receiver in high school. I think Ian's at the beginning stages of his learning curve.
And finally, Jeremy Deering making his first start at safety.
I thought Jeremy did a good job. I thought he played a very solid game. Their game plan didn't challenge our safeties as much as maybe it challenged our corners and our underneath coverage with the linebackers. But for what we asked Jeremy to do, he did it very well. And again, a guy who, because he's at the beginning stages, should get better and better.
One more timeout, couple of more Twitter questions, couple of more phone calls we've got time for when we get back. 855-FLOOD-44 and tweet us at @RFootball. This is the Kyle Flood Show.
Excuse me, is that your Diet Pepsi?
Sofia Vergara. Yeah, this is my Diet Pepsi. I love Diet Pepsi.
Do you love every sip?
Nothing is better than drinking a refreshing Diet Pepsi and just reveling in its crisp, delicious taste.
Well, you know what they say. If you love something, let it go. And if it comes back, it was meant to be.
So I should set this Diet Pepsi free and wait for it to come back. Then it'll be more delicious than ever. Would you hold my Diet Pepsi for me?
I'd love to.
Thank you. What happens now?
Go, get out of here. It can't come back to you if you're standing next to it.
Thanks, Sophia. I'll wait for you, Diet Pepsi.
The only thing better than an ice-cold Diet Pepsi is a free ice-cold Diet Pepsi.
Love every sip at DietPepsi.com.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
Wow, Steve, is that you?
Yep. Hi,
Kathy. So what do you think of the store? I finally did it. I started my own business.
That's amazing. Congratulations. But how? I mean, these days, I hear it's hard to get a small business loan.
No, it was easy. Just go to Kearney Federal Savings or at Central Jersey Bank Division, and they'll get you started. They're preferred SBA lenders, so not only did they make the process hassle-free, but I also got a quick approval. What's even better, going through them, I cut out the middleman.
Wow, I'm impressed. Sounds like you really did your homework.
Actually, I just went to a bank I could trust and one who truly understands the value of a small business in today's economy.
So where do I go?
Kearney Federal Savings or at Central Jersey Bank Division. It's easy. Just log on to KearneyFederalSavings.com or stop by any of their 41 convenient locations. Oh, and Kathy, that'll be $30.
If you're looking for a small business loan, look no further than Kearney Federal Savings Bank and its division, Central Jersey Bank, your neighborhood bank since 1884. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Couple of minutes left on the Kyle Flood Show here on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. 855-FLOOD-44, your telephone number. And you can tweet us at @RFootball. Rutgers hosting Norfolk State this Saturday, 12 noon. Couple of things with that, Coach. Number one, first responders. They're going to be coming and enjoying the football game this week. And I know it's something that you have always wanted to do and reach out and welcome the first responders. They're such an important part of our society.
No doubt. And the first responders, they're doing jobs that I think most normal citizens, you never know when you need them, but when you need them, you need them. And in my own family, I have a brother who has been on the NYPD Emergency Service Unit now. He's been on the force for 22 years, over 10 years on ESU, and I have a brother-in-law who works with the FDNY, and he's on the FDNY now over 10 years. So it's and they're not the only two in my family, but they're the two closest, and they're very so I know on a very first-hand basis exactly what they're going through. But it's really the first responders all through the tri-state area that we want to honor, and whether it's 9/11, whether it's Sandy Relief, or all the things that happen in between that you may never even hear about, they're so critical to what we do.
Coach, we have a question on Twitter. How do the players feel about wearing the white helmets and uniforms Saturday? For those fans that don't know, check out the white helmets that they'll be wearing this week. New helmets. It's on ScarletKnights.com. You can check them out, and they're pretty nifty, I got to say.
I tell you what, when Mike Kuzniak, our director of player services, came up with the idea for the white helmet with the white uniform, I loved it, and I know our players are really excited about it, and I know the recruits are really excited about it. So it's really a threefold deal. I think I'm hoping our fans will enjoy it. I know they don't get to see us in the whites at home, and I don't know when the last time we wore an all-white uniform at home would have been. But I think our all-white uniform is a very classy uniform, and I think with the white helmet, I think we'll look like the classic college football coming out of the tunnel.
We got about a minute plus left. Two things. Number one, next week, Eastern Michigan. Not going to talk about the game yet, but the fact that at halftime, Eric LeGrand's jersey will be retired. We'll talk about it with Eric next week. Tickets are still available, though. It should be a special day.
It'll be a great day, and we'll certainly talk with Eric about it on the show next week. But Eric is somebody that is so near and dear to our program and so inspirational to our program, but not just our program. So many other people who have had an opportunity to meet him. This is a very small gesture on our part, and I look forward to the day where we unretire it, because I know that day is coming soon.
Coach, as far as Norfolk State this week, give us your couple of biggest keys for this game for Rutgers to get into the win column for the first time.
I think for us as a football team, we need to get better. I think we got to raise our level of execution in all three phases. On offense, it always starts with the run game, and I was very pleased with the output of the run game. I was pleased with the big runs, but I'm not pleased with the consistency, and I think we can do a better job, and I'm hoping we see that on Saturday. On defense, I've already said it, I think we need to tackle better, and I know we've been working on that all week, and I think our defense understands that, and I think we'll see that on Saturday as well. And then on special teams, I just think we need to be a little bit more consistent. Special teams has always been a weapon here. It certainly was a weapon last week, but we don't ever want it to put us in a bad situation. And there were a couple of plays. There was a turnover and then a field position battle that we lost on a kickoff coverage that were tough plays in the game. And there is no one play that wins or loses the game, but they're all factors, and we need to minimize the negative ones so we have less chances.
No, you're excited to play at home this week. Good luck on Saturday.
No, I appreciate that. It's always great to be in High Point Solutions Stadium, and I'm hoping that number creeps over 50.
We expect to see you out there Saturday, 12 noon kick. Rutgers hosting Norfolk State in the home opener for 2013. For the coach, Kyle Flood and Eric LeGrand, I'm Chris Carlin. We'll see you next week on the Kyle Flood Show.
You've been listening to the Kyle Flood Show, live from Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick. The executive producers of the Rutgers IMG Sports Network are George Pine and Ben Sutton. Associate producers Joe Potter, Chris Ferris, and John Willie. Network manager Brad Law. I'm staff announcer Carl Shannon. Special thanks to Rutgers Athletic Director Julie Herman and the staff and management of flagship station WCTC.